Looks like I ruffled a few feathers in that last video there. I've seen this, and I was like, oh, okay, we have these in the United States, but I didn't realize this looped back into itself. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, I once again made another video on clueless Americans traveling throughout Europe and stuff and getting mind blown over normal things. And I've brought up one point several times in the last like 4 or 5 videos, and it seems to be quite annoying and a little agitating. And in fact, so agitating that the top comment of my last video happened to be, anyone else fed up explaining the bathroom hand towel? I realized immediately that there was a disconnect between the comment section and myself. I've asked in every video things that I don't understand to you guys. I go and read them, and if I don't understand what I'm reading, I'll ask again. I do my own research, and I'm like, still doesn't make any sense to me. I could have easily looked up a video, and I did not, and so of course it caused more frustration because that became a reoccurring theme in future videos. In fact, so much so that the following comment underneath that actually said, he constantly asks for comments and then does not read them. He should know by now that these towels are not reused until they're sanitized and installed again fresh to use. Now, me being the dumb American that I am, I was still confused because this is exactly what I was talking about when I've watched any video of Americans trying those hand towel dispensers. I'm assuming they're paper towels. People are calling them towels. We call our paper towels towels for short as well in the United States. Some people do. Some people just say paper towels. So I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe it's just like, you know, they're using paper towels as well. Then you guys made it clear that it was a cloth, and I still couldn't process that. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I don't know how big this spool of cloth is. Are they using the same cloth and it's going through the system over and over again, and there's some cleaning mechanism in there? And of course, people were getting more and more heated because it was like talking to a wall. You guys were trying to explain to me how it worked, and I completely did not get that. Now, a lot of you guys were very helpful and continued explaining how that process worked. In fact, one of you guys actually dropped a link in the replies and showed me exactly how it actually works. So as you can see here, this is what the mechanism looks like. This gets unlocked with a key. And of course, these are the spools that I was having a lot of questions about. I'm like, okay, is it one spool that gets cleaned? And maybe there's a cleaning mechanism in here somewhere that cleans this same spool of cloth? Or do people just use this limited cloth over and over again and it's not truly sanitized? Now, I didn't understand that you guys were saying that there was a reservoir in here and there are technically 2 spools, and this does get changed out. So that makes a lot more sense. As you can see, it's being changed out right now. And they put another towel thingy here, and it looks super cool. In fact, one big thing, I think a major disconnect, and from the comments to my understanding of what you guys were trying to explain, is the fact that this is actual cloth. When you guys were saying towel, I mean, again, I say paper towel. Paper towel is clearly different than an actual towel, but again, I know some people who just say towel for short when they're referring to paper towels. Like, oh, did you dry your hands off the towel? Da 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 da. Obviously, that's not everybody. That's a portion of people, but I'm like, okay, I'm assuming you're in the bathroom, a public bathroom. Most public bathrooms I've ever been to only have paper towels, and that's me simply imposing my US defaultism here because, of course, in other countries, same thing. In South Korea, it's straight up paper towel. I don't see these at all. And in other countries, like, you know, even Dubai, like they do have cloths that you can dry your hands with, but they're actually physically on the counter. So it even shows you how they hook this up, and it's actually super cool. I can jump up and down for joy, and there's peace and love in the world. Now, there's something else I would like to address because there were a few other comments that were aiming at different things. Because in that same thread, someone else brought up something that was pretty interesting. And this comment actually says, I'm also tired of explaining the pay for public restroom thing. In Italy, we didn't even have them when I was a kid. You go to a bar, restaurant, a shop, or whatever. Not all establishments had a toilet for the public, or they denied it with the excuse of it being out of order. The single councils then started putting them up, especially where there are a lot of tourists. Does he think that the local citizens have to pay for them with their council taxes when they're not the ones that use them? I don't even think that it's hard to understand if you spend a minute thinking about it. Believe it or not, for me, in this cranium with the one brain cell, it is hard to process because, again, anybody at any time could feel the need to go to the toilet and they're like, wow, like I really have to go, and the closest thing next to them is a public toilet. And they're like, you know what? Let me go ahead and use that. Oh, there's a fee. Yikes! So it's hard to process for myself and fellow Americans alike when it's like, wow, you have to pay this much to get into a public toilet. And it's crazy because you guys actually clap back with something that made so much sense. You guys were like, why are you concerned about a €1 public bathroom fee when you guys have to pay 20% tips, diabolical level hospital bills, and that's normal for you guys? So why are you guys complaining about bathroom usage being not free? And I'm like, okay, fair is fair. This all ties into an overarching overarching point of American ignorance. I am not absolved from that. I tell you guys this in all of my videos. I say some real dumb things. I'm still very ignorant to a lot of the things that exist throughout all of Europe and actually all of the world, right? I will always have questions. I might even have the same questions. There could be things I learned today that I don't retain and I ask years from now. That's just how my brain works. And I'm sure some of you guys are like that as well. There might be something that you see or experience in a foreign country that you've never been to before. It could be Japan, it could be Korea, it could be somewhere else in the world, and there might be a thing over there that you guys don't understand and you finally get it, but then you leave and you don't really engage with that for a while and you forget. You're like, oh, I completely forgot you guys operated like that. So all I'm saying is I completely understand the frustration, definitely warranted for sure, because I was being a bozo and I asked 1,000,003 questions. But one thing I'm not embarrassed is asking questions, even if they are questions I've asked over and over and over again and I have received answers. If I don't understand the answers to my question, I'm going to continue asking said question, if that makes sense. So for myself, I want to be able to improve. That's the biggest reason why I made this video. It's the end of 2025, and like many other Americans, I am completely ignorant. There's so much I do not know about Europe. I tell you guys in all of my videos, my experiences in Europe are primarily from Germany. I love Germany. I want to keep going back to Germany. I want to see as much as I can about all of Germany, the small towns, the big cities, and everything in between. But Germany is not all of Europe. Europe has so many countries and different cultures and things to experience. There's going to be things I love and things I hate about all of those experiences. And I want to be able to experience those things in the upcoming years. So what I'm trying to do is generate some trips where I can go and get some boots on the ground and get to experience different things for myself. Part of that is going to be trying to learn a few different languages right now. I still need to get a grip on learning German. At this point, I can understand most things in German. I just can't speak it very well because I haven't spoken it in a long time. And it's one of those languages, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So have some patience with me is all I'm saying. It's going to take a little bit. I do think that since the inception of this channel, where I was just strictly reacting to music and random things from different countries, and now it's more of a focus, I think I have learned a lot. But at the end of the day, I'm still ignorant. Okay, I'm still ignorant. So there's a lot I got to learn, and I really appreciate you guys holding me accountable. This isn't an I'm upset video. This is an I'm holding myself accountable, and I'm acknowledging that you guys are holding me accountable, and I do appreciate that so much. There are a few other comments that I wanted to get through that you guys brought up that are very good points as well. And our next comment says, Americans brag for drinking water for every 10 steps and then whine that they can't piss for free. And if that wasn't obvious, that was definitely a dig at the bathrooms aren't free in Europe thing. So again, I understand more so why they're not free. I had a few questions, of course, in my previous video, one of them being, well, what happens when you pay for this toilet and the toilet is actually dirty? Because that has happened multiple times when I was in Europe. When I was specifically in Germany, I would pay for some of the toilets and stuff that I went to, and the toilets were disgusting. I was like, oh wow. And it wasn't just like kind of dirty. It was like there was piss and shiznit all over the place, and I was like, oh can I get my euro back? Like, that's crazy work. So again, and I don't think I've gotten a response to that. I look in the comments, and like I say, I read the comments all the time. I get lost in some of you guys' stories. I'm not able to read everything at once. So again, have some patience with me. I'll eventually have this nailed at some point, but the whole goal for me is to break out of the loop of being willfully ignorant and learning a few things and ingesting a few critical bits of knowledge, because I do want to be able to improve. And as the new year comes upon us, it's almost 2026. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be 31 this upcoming year. That's insane, insane. There's so much to learn, so much to see. And this year I am coming back, not only to Germany, but I do want to visit a few other European countries. So part of this video is me asking you guys, what countries do you think I should visit in conjunction with Germany? I'm only gonna be in Europe as a whole for probably no longer than 2 to 3 weeks. So let me know, populate the comments, and then also like maybe little areas that you think would be a really cool experience as well. You can suggest touristy areas and the lesser known areas that are cool to explore and whatnot. I think that'd be really cool. I mean, anything that you guys have that you would recommend that I travel, I'm open to visiting and learning about it. I'm going to do some research before I travel out there, of course, so I know what the customs and courtesies are, how to behave when I get out there, how to carry myself, what items I think I need, blah, 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 things like that. So I'm fully prepared, because you guys already know my number one gripe in these videos is make sure you're doing your research. That is a huge, huge, huge thing. There are are a couple of other comments left, and our next comment says, "You should get the TSA to run your cinemas. Would probably work, LOL." And this was a comment referring to the beginning of my last video where the gentleman was covering basically movie theater experiences in Norway, where they have an open self-service area where you can buy your snacks before you go to the cinema. This, that, the third. I brought up how dangerous movie theaters are in the United States, and at any time, any place, something can go down. Somebody can sneak something in there, a weapon of sorts, and hurt people. And also having a self-service area where there are no physical people around, people will go and steal. Now you guys clapped back and said, well, are there no cameras? Like, are you guys living in the Stone Age? Like, do you guys not have cameras? And then I fired back and said, actually, you'd be surprised. Some of the establishments do have cameras that do not work. Let me say that louder for the people in the back. Some establishments have cameras that do not work. You would be surprised, depending on who owns the franchise of the theater that you go to or the establishment that you go to, the cameras are there as a show of force. How do you know that they don't work? You don't know unless they tell you. So many places have had cameras that don't work that people just test the waters. A lot of people don't care. They'll go in there, they see that there's nobody there to hold them accountable, they'll steal and they'll leave. And the crazy thing is, tracking that person down is kind of difficult too, especially if they don't frequent that location quite often. So think about it. A person who's just visiting said city or whatever goes to this theater with an open self-service area, and let's say this is in the United States. They see that no one's there to monitor whether or not they steal. They'll steal, they'll leave, they won't pay for anything, and the cops aren't going to show up and arrest them. How would they know where they're at? There's no vehicle that they walked in there with. There's no identifying markers, and the camera quality for a lot of places that do have cameras are very, very bad. So one scary thing that a lot of establishments are moving to now are AI systems, and that's for the establishments that are a little bit on the higher end of the spectrum. For things like kiosks, gas stations, and smaller theaters and stuff, the cameras are a 50-50 as far as whether or not they work, because it costs money at the end of the day to store that footage on a server and stuff like that, and then have the cameras routinely checked, and then having people paid to observe those cameras. A lot of franchises like to save money in every possible way, even at the expense of their own security. Therefore, those cameras are there as just a show of force. So that's kind of another thing I wanted to clear up, because I was like, okay, there's obviously a disconnect there. Maybe you guys understood that, but for the people who didn't, there's the explanation. For those that disagree with me that are also from the United States, please let me know your complaints and gripes in the comments down below. But I figured it would be something interesting to bring up because, again, a lot of people just don't know. And I thought that was a pretty interesting point. And this final bit has something to do with my point of confusion in regards to the dubbing over in Europe. Now, depending where you are in Europe, it'll be a little different, right? Some countries in Europe have multiple voice actors and stuff. They have a voice actor one-to-one for every single person in whatever TV show, movie presents itself. And then you'll have other countries in Europe that just have the one guy. And this comment I'm going to be reading because this comment actually highlighted and explained something that I was having trouble understanding and computing. And this is all relevant to the end message of this video. Okay, so some more context for the one-person dub. The thing about it is the audio is usually set up so that you hear both the OG dub and the guy or lady reading all the translated lines. And yes, reading, not voice acting, as they read those lines in a very neutral tone, so you kind of tune out the translated line delivery and get the acting from the OG audio. It's more like audio subtitles than a proper dub. I actually prefer it over the proper dub for non-animated stuff because you don't get the weird effect of seeing that what you're hearing is not what the actor is saying, it being even worse when you actually know how the actor actually sounds like. And that was pretty interesting for me too, because at first I'm like, is this a budgeting problem? Do they only have enough money to afford one person dubbing over this big production? And so I was a little perplexed when I was going through that whole thing. But again, this cleared it up for me. And there were several other comments that were like that allowed me to look deeper into what this was. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Bottom line, I do read you guys' comments. I enjoy you guys' stories, and I will still have questions. Some of them the same questions I've been asking in many of my videos, because genuinely, I just do not understand. And I try to explain to some of you guys how I don't understand, even though it has been explained to me many a time. Maybe I just was too worried, too nervous to bring it up and say, man, I really don't understand. So you just get my initial guttural, visceral reaction in whatever videos of me saying, wow, I really don't understand how this works. And you guys are like, well, we explained it like 99.9 million times. Like, how many more times do you need us to explain it to you? And I'm like, as many times as I need to get it. Okay. So what I want to do to fix all that that is A, have more experiences traveling and getting to see it for myself, B, doing more research so I keep myself informed, and C, accepting the fact that I don't know what I don't know. So I'm going to continue learning through not just these videos, but again, experiences of me actually traveling over there and enjoying various countries, various cultures, and various experiences. Because I do think that one of the biggest issues in the United States currently is the lack of motivation to go and understand different cultures outside of the United States. And it keeps people closed-minded and ignorant. And of course, when, you know, there are things that are lost in translation over the internet and whatnot, you have things like this where there's misunderstandings that lead to frustrations, which lead to bigger things in some cases. So I do appreciate you guys that have been supporting me all this time. Again, I'm admitting I'm a dummy. I definitely did not get some of that stuff, and I know it was frustrating for you guys to sit through that. I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. If this is New Year's Eve, get the champagne out, spend some time with your families, have fun. I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna definitely make sure that I come into 2026 with a lot more hunger to learn about the world around me, because that is something that I think has evolved over the years. If you've watched my videos for a long time, you'll know that my content has gradually changed and whatnot. It's been the same overarching umbrella of European related content and American versus European related content over the last 5, 6, 7 years, but it has evolved to some degree as far as like my knowledge and my approach to things these days. So I do appreciate you guys, and until the next time I see your beautiful faces again, take care. Peace.